The Self-Publishing Show is sponsored by Pro Writing Aid. Pro Writing Aid has been my go-to tool for revising and refining my writing since my first book. Built by writers for writers, it's more than just a grammar and spell checker. Pro Writing Aid helps you enhance your story's pacing, plot, characters, settings, and more. It can even provide on-demand developmental feedback on your entire manuscript with its new manuscript analysis and virtual beta reader tools. Get ahead of the competition by heading to prowritingaid.com and sign up for free using the code IWC15 for a 15% discount off annual subscriptions.
Publishing is changing. No more gatekeepers. No more barriers. No one standing between you and your readers. This is the Self-Publishing Show. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
Hello and welcome to the Self-Publishing Show. My name is James Blatch.
And I'm Cissy Mecca.
You got your name right this week. Number 3 for Cissy. You're chalking it up like an old veteran at this stage. How is it for you?
It feels perfect. I love it.
Oh,
I love
wow.
to see you every week, and yeah, it feels very natural and fun, like as
Good.
it should. Yeah.
Well, this is you and me this episode. So we had Robin Bennett Freeburn last week talking about Etsy. I'm really motivated. I mean, you know, you have there's lots of things you can do in authoring, and like you know this more than anyone else. You can have at a conference, and we're going to talk about going to live in-person events and the benefit of those in this episode, but you can have a conversation every 5 minutes, and if you can't act on all of it. You can't do everything that everyone's doing, but every now and again something lands on me, and the fact that my books are, you know, they're up on the shelf behind me, they're Cold War thrillers. They are very giftable. They're not like, and I don't mean this rudely, they're not run-of-the-mill thrillers like Lee Child or anything, which, you know, obviously Lee Child's books are amazing. It's not what I mean. You know what I'm saying is, you wouldn't necessarily gift a Lee Child box set to somebody, but you would gift a historical Cold War thriller box set to your granddad who worked on Vulcans in the 1960s. They are giftable for that market. This week I got my two of my novels are 6x9, but one of them, I don't know if I can show it. One of them on the end there, the novella, is 5x8. So I have redone that in 6x9. I'm getting that delivered to the house. We'll be in Savannah when it arrives. But then I'll go to Book Vault in Peterborough to get the box sleeve done. Order 20 of them, and then just go onto Etsy and start marketing and working out how that platform works. Just partly because I want to see how it works, but also I think this could be a birthday gift ideas. So I'm going to basically, this time next year, I'm going to be a millionaire. That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's fantastic, because I'm looking forward to going on your yacht and sipping champagne or Prosecco.
Well, just remove your shoes first.
No, I actually agree with you. Sometimes, well, everything resonates with me. I want to try all of it, which is a problem. But this specifically did, to the point where I opened an Etsy account 2 days ago, and I actually put on an item. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to be a millionaire too. So.
Yes, we're millionaires together. We have our yacht side by side, but just keep your distance because I don't want to bang it. I don't want any dints on my yacht. I've seen you driving.
I'm a captain, obviously. Like, I'm not driving my own yacht. See, this is how much I know yacht culture. I don't think you drive a yacht, do you? I don't know.
I don't know what you do. Steer it. Helmet it. You do helmet.
Oh, my yacht. Sure. Yeah, that sounds very...
Here's two people who don't know what they're talking about.
Here's two people who probably aren't going to have a yacht anytime soon. No, we will. I shouldn't talk like that.
I wouldn't have a yacht, can I just say?
No? Really?
If I won the lottery,
yeah,
I don't think I'd ever buy a yacht. It doesn't appeal to me at all. Renting a yacht with your friends for like a couple of weeks, I love the idea of that. But the idea of owning a yacht and it sitting there, I'd first of all be panicked about it just sitting there doing nothing. It costs you tens of thousands of dollars a month to keep yachts just there. I'm sorry, Cissy, I'm not buying a yacht.
Well, okay, but if you rent a yacht, then you can't put your name on the side, right? You can't have your name on it. Then you can't have like James...
I don't think people who have yachts put their names on the side of them.
Well, that's why I want one.
They're always called fact, the only example I can think of a yacht that had someone's name on the side of it is not a very happy one. It was Ghislaine. And that was the yacht that Robert Maxwell was on when he fell into the water and died. And the yacht was named after his young daughter, Ghislaine Maxwell.
That's
He's
awful.
currently serving time in prison for being the organizer for Jeffrey Epstein. So, interesting. So, on that side note, that did take a dark turn, but that's the only yacht I can think of. If you walk around the harbour in Monaco, which I have done several times, and looked at the yachts, they're all called things like, Dun Roman, Better Life 2 or something.
I'm not saying I want my name, but I would love to have like a really cool name. I guess you could just have a boat with your name on it. And
I see. Like
cool
what you're
name.
saying is you can't name the yacht. That's what you're saying.
Thank you. Yes. See how good I am with words? Yeah.
I like that.
Exactly.
If I named it, I can't do this because Elon Musk has done it, but all the ships and spacecraft they have in SpaceX are named after Ian M. Banks's Culture series, where the names of the mines, which are the ships in there, are called things like "It was like that when I got here," and "Please read the instructions next time," and stuff like that. So they're very witty names. Okay, enough rambling over. We're going to talk about a couple of things that have popped up on our social media feeds that we think are of relevance, and then we're going to talk about going to in-author events. And we say that because Cissy and I, currently sitting in different sides of the world, different sides of the Atlantic, are going to be in the same author event by Friday, or the days travelling in between.
Yay.
So we're going to an in-person event in Savannah, Georgia, Friday. And we're going to talk about why we go to them, what we get out of them, or we hope to get out of them, and why you should or you shouldn't go to them. But in terms of what's popped out, the first one I want to mention is a TikTok. The account, I actually don't know her name. She's got an Australian accent, and the account on TikTok is Stay Human. So it's stay_human. And she's talking about AI and jobs. And this post has done the rounds. It's gone viral. So I can see it's got 20,000 odd likes and thousands of saves and so on. So a lot of people have watched this. And what she basically says is that when we talk about AI and jobs, there are two ways of talking about it. One is that AI will replace you. If you're sat in front of a computer, your job's done. And the other one is AI will compete against you, and AI can do anything you can do faster, and it never sleeps and doesn't need feeding. So both are catastrophically. And she said both are not 100% wrong, but they are both mainly wrong. And a lot of this came because the CEO of Microsoft said recently that in 12 to 18 months, if you are white collar, sitting in front of a computer, your job will be taken over by AI. But she said, look between the headlines here. That is a sales pitch. That's a sales pitch to investors who have invested $750 billion into AI through all these big tech companies. And what do they want after investing $750 billion? They want a return. Right. So they need to know that AI is going to replace jobs and make companies run more efficiently. But is that really the case? Because if you wind that forward, and AI is ubiquitous, right? We're authors in the creative industry, and it's completely dominating our space now. It's completely talked about. It is, whether you're running, garages or whatever. There's a few areas like hospitality. It doesn't affect as much because it's very hands-on. But many, many industries are dominated by this. And what she's arguing is if you take that to its logical conclusion, you basically do away with all the jobs. But the economy is a loop, right? Your workers earn money and then they spend money in the economy and you provide the products. So if you've replaced all your workers, who are you selling stuff to? There's no one there. And she points out that Henry Ford worked this out 100 years ago, where he paid his workers enough that they could afford to buy the cars that they were making. So that's, she said, has to be the future of AI. It has to be a loop economy. And so the reality is that it's going to augment. Of course it is, but it probably isn't going to replace in the way that the investors are hoping it is. And there's already people, by the way, in those investment discussions saying this as well. They're saying, just like this happened in the 90s in the tech bubble, which burst then, the dot-com bubble they called it, and it thought it was going to change everything, and there'd be no estate agents on the high street anymore, real estate agents on the high street, there'd be no travel agents, etc. All of that's going to be replaced. Well, that didn't happen, and a lot of those companies went bust. They're already predicting we've done it again. We've thought AI is going to change the world in that particular way, and it's going to change the world, but not in that particular way. Now, why do I think this is worth reiterating for us? Because I think it's yet more good news for human-based endeavors like writing, which ultimately are very, very difficult to replace. You can absolutely generate a book using AI, but I've seen with my own eyes the people who are doing it, the weeks of work that goes into one book, weeks of work. And if you don't believe me, you're not paying attention. You thinking someone's pressing a button and creating a romance book, they are spending weeks going through the characterization, they're rewriting the tropes, and line editing and development editing, all that stuff. So it's absolutely speeding it up, because it takes me a year to write a book, but it's not what you think it is, and it's not going to change the world in the way that you think it is. So I thought that was a really interesting take, and she's worth following. There's about 4 other posts after that where she talks in more detail about it. I wish I knew her name. But there was that one.
Yep, I know when you sent that, and you said, I like this take, I watched it, I listened, and that very day, so, I listened to a podcast called, I should probably know the name of it to share, but I listen to an AI podcast every day at the gym. It's called that is the title. It's AI Explored by Social Media Examiner. And the very day you sent that, the podcast I listened to that afternoon said, one of the guests, an AI expert guru, as you are, said virtually the same thing. That yes, not that skills will be devalued, but individual skills certainly can be replaced, but you can't necessarily replace what we do with those skills. And he kind of was making a case for, and I was very interested in this, kids in college. I have one who's a freshman in college. I have another going to college next year. So of course I'm thinking for them, what are the implications of AI jobs in the future, what they're going into, is it viable? And he was making a case for, a more liberal arts education, whereas at one time, not that that's devalued, I have one, but that there is maybe some more value to individual skills, or we place more value, or sometimes we make more money with individual skills, that a liberal arts degree or a liberal arts way of thinking, or a more encompassing way of thinking about how to utilize these skills is going to be the future. So AI can replace a skill. AI can replace doing some of the things, but how we utilize those things will be kind of the future. And so I don't think those two ideas were at odds, your TikTok and my podcast. I think they're very much saying the same thing. Also, there without the person behind it. So for us as writers, without that writer behind it, without that creative human being behind it, where is the value? And also this morning you sent something that virtually said the same thing. And I think maybe we're developing this way of thinking about AI that I hope it's not just because we wish it to be so, but that I think as artists makes a lot of sense. I do.
Yeah. I mean, there was an expression that went around right at the beginning of this AI bubble 18 months ago, whenever it started, that said, you won't be replaced by AI, you'll be replaced by somebody using AI. And I thought that rang much more true than AI is going to replace all our jobs. And that is turning out to be the case. So, if you eschew AI, that you are deliberately setting yourself at a disadvantage. You can't get away from that. Whatever we say about AI is not replacing people, it is replacing aspects of jobs, and it is changing the way jobs work. So I'm just going to say that is the wrong thing to do, just to eschew it completely and not use it. You need to integrate it into your work. You don't necessarily need to write with it, obviously, but lots of other aspects. But the human side of it, so that was, you also sent, so we had, I think, contradictory things that we sent each other in the last 24 hours. Because you sent me, was it you who sent me the amazing AI-generated art, which was incredible, stunning, and it was from one person who had a particular way of doing it, a bit like a cartoonist looking at the way they do cartoons. And I was looking at that thinking this genuinely is breathtaking and challenging and interesting art. We'll put all these links in the show notes so you can have a look at it. And then later both of us read the Sam Altman comments,
Yes.
who said that art produced by AI has no value because everybody can produce that level of art and therefore it loses its intrinsic value.
Which I thought about that. When you sent that, I was like, oh, I just sent him that TikTok account that I thought was really interesting. I don't think they were at odds because, well, first of all, she didn't create, so she used, I think, Midjourney to create these images and videos, right? So we all have access to Midjourney. And kind of the point there was we have access to these same tools, the same AI, and yet how we utilize them is going to be vastly different, and that's where the value is. She also, I think, wrote her own music, from what I understand. So the music to those videos was her own, so there is a creative aspect of it. And obviously there's a creative aspect to what she's doing. She's using a tool I've never seen used in quite that way before. So I don't necessarily think they're at odds. I think it almost goes back to what we were just saying. How you utilize them will be the difference. And so she's obviously kind of a creative soul. And I mean, I thought, pretty breathtaking and interesting that I have access to Midjourney, but I'm not creating videos like that. I do think
that's a bit like saying you got access to Monet's paint palette and his canvas, but that doesn't make you Monet, right? So we have access to Midjourney. But it is breathtaking work. And I actually thought
cool.
when we both listened to Sam Altman talking, I was thinking, but I did value that because of what she'd done.
Right, but she'd also put a spin on it, number one. She didn't create the image and just pop it out. So she spends, if you listen to kind of the background of that, she spends an hour a day and has for 3 years perfecting and developing the kind of videos that she puts out. So again, like writing the book, she didn't pop in, create a video in 5 minutes, and then boop, put it on TikTok. She spent 3 years perfecting this. She puts her own music behind it and is doing something unique. It's so, Sam Altman basically said, yes, if you put a picture on Midjourney out into the world, I agree with him. I think there is more value behind the artist than necessarily that artwork. But she didn't just pop a video up. She did a heck of a lot more than that. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And it also goes into what I've discovered. So the AI translation stuff I've really been heavily into. I think one of the reasons I'm sort of passionate about this particular area, because I think if you master one area using AI, you understand how AI works in every other area. And there's a real division at the moment between superficial use of AI and deep use of AI. And I think that is the difference between, and that, a professional, if you like, an indie author who's serious and doing stuff properly will use deep use of AI, and somebody who jumps from an Amazon scam to an eBay scam, something else that uses it superficially in terms of creativity. And I think that's starting to be clear to me that most people aren't using AI properly. And so sort of seeing her do that is just a small example of that there's a multitude of ways of using this tool. I'm trying to find it actually so I can quote her. Did you send it to me on TikTok? I think you did.
I sent it to you on TikTok, yes. And actually, that particular video came from, I think, the same AI summit that Sam Altman spoke at. There was another speaker that used her as an example. And I was going to try to figure out exactly what that summit was, but I don't know. So obviously, there was a lot of AI talk this week, a lot of news, as I'm sure there will continue to be. But it occurs to me that we are basically developing our AI philosophies as artists, kind of live on air, I suppose.
Yes.
But I think it's important to do because how we use it, whether we use it, I mean, this is going to be, I think, a cornerstone of our profession. If it's not already.
Do you see a time in the future where it will have to be clear whether it's enforced on us by Amazon's decisions or eBay's decision, whatever, or it emerges as something that you need to have, a sort of stamp that says this was originally produced by a human or it wasn't. So particularly in our field of books, you get a new romance series that lands. Is there going to be a time in the future where it will have to declare that's generated by AI, or you're buying something written by a human?
I just don't know. I honestly have thought about that, but I think there's going to be a point in the not so distant future that you won't be able to know or be able to tell. I think now if somebody, like you said, it's not pressing a button and putting it out a book. But if somebody utilized AI for research, let's say, is that you just utilizing AI? Certainly it is. If I want to disclose that, I can. If I don't want to disclose that, I don't have to. I don't know that. I think it will become indeterminable, and therefore that stamp will be maybe useless. That's just my personal thought. Whether it's from Amazon or from us. Could Amazon force us to do that, or other retailers? Sure. But I also think I don't know. I don't see it necessarily.
So funny enough, I played golf with Robin yesterday in driving wind and rain. We were soaking, so we had to go to the pub afterwards.
Oh, you had to go to the pub.
So we went to Spoons in Royston, a glamorous place. And we actually had a really good discussion about this. And Robin's always interesting because Robin's very entrepreneurial, very business-like. Well, you could tell from listening to him last week. So he in the conversation, he was looking at it really from Amazon's point of view, wondering what the discussion is in the boardroom. So on the face of it, it'd be naive of us to think they're sitting around thinking, how can we protect indie authors and make their lives better? They're not thinking that at all. They're thinking, where's our shareholder value in the next 10 years? And probably they're thinking it's from AI writing, because that's what they're seeing as the big growth area. There are lots of AI books, tens of thousands. That's going to be the growth area. We'll exploit that. We'll probably make it easier for people to find it. We'll make it easier for people to dictate what stories they want and what tropes they want, and so they can order the books. All of that's will be underway now in Amazon, however depressing you might find it. But at the same time, there is an argument that they will also be having in that boardroom that actually, do we want to have a separate marketplace because we are going to be absolutely overwhelmed? They've already said you can not load more than 3 books a day on an individual KDP account. That's 900 books a year, and people find ways of having more than one KDP account. So that means there's people today uploading several thousand books a year. And that's what, through one person or one small team. So that's happening now. Differentiating that from you and me and others listening to this podcast, whether we're using a bit of AI here and there, that's a very different thing. Where I produce a book every 2 years if I'm lucky. And it's not untypical to produce 1 book a year for indie authors. That's probably a bit more average. Differentiating that, there is a real danger that there's a market there that they won't be able to access anymore because the readers can't get to it and can't see it. And I'm not going to use the expression AI slop, but because of a lot of AI content, in which case they do something radical, like they say, you can upload as many books as you like. It costs you $500 each time you upload a new title.
Wow. I hadn't thought of that, because I was thinking, they ask us now about AI usage, and I've always wondered if that's because they plan to put it in a separate category or something like that. And then my argument is, if people don't disclose, how do they, obviously the AI, I know I'm still in the English teacher kind of circles, they're having a very difficult time figuring out if something is AI or not. So how will they determine that? But that's a whole different angle I hadn't considered.
Yeah. I mean, I think at the moment it's a non-starter to say that there'll be some technology you can tell whether it's AI. What's going to happen then is thousands of hard-working authors with no AI work at all are going to get categorized as AI writers because that's what the algorithm mistakenly thinks, and vice versa. So that's a non-starter at the moment, at least. But if you charge people $500, which sounds like a lot of money, right? But that immediately makes the Amazon KDP marketplace a very different place. It makes it, that's something I would pay. And I don't make a lot of money from my books, but I would pay $500 per title. I'd see that as...
yeah, absolutely.
What I get from that is I get to be taken seriously as an author in a place where you're not going to have the people doing 900 books a year because it won't be worth it.
Now, of course, we're talking Amazon, James. We have a lot of listeners that are direct sales, and, we might be making a case for direct sales without realizing it as we speak. if I'm training my readers to buy directly from me and they know I'm human, in 2 years, Amazon is not necessarily in the picture. Although for me, that's tough. I am almost all KU, but I know a lot of people aren't. So there's that discussion as well. Yeah.
So there are a couple of things. One other thing that popped up on our feed that you sent me was Meta trialing the idea of limiting the number of links you can post to not many. It wasn't many, is it? This is organically, if you're in your organic Meta.
That was, Mari Smith, who I follow and have for years for kind of Facebook news. I saw this about 2 weeks ago and thought it was, because we know that links devalue posts anyway. It's why most people are putting them in comments and things like that. But I thought it was kind of an alarmist thing. But then when Mari Smith said it, I'm like, oh, okay, this might actually be a thing. So I guess you could make a case. Right now it's being trialed. If it actually happens for everyone, we can say that, I guess what it was, unless you're verified, it would be 2 links. Was it 2 links per month or something?
Yeah, 2 a month.
And I think it cost a bit to verify. I don't know exactly how much. You could say organic social, at least on Facebook, is a thing of the past, but I think it already is. I wasn't super worried about it when I saw that, because I thought, when is the last time I sold a whole crap ton of books because I shared it on Facebook? And yet I still, on my author account and sometimes personal account, which you're not supposed to, I'll still promote, books. I don't know why, because there's so few people seeing those organically. But I thought that was interesting, because obviously Facebook is still a marketing tool for us as authors. So
yeah, I think what's behind it is Facebook trying to find relevancy again, isn't it, and trying to make itself more organic. Interestingly, TikTok is drifted the other way. I think a year ago TikTok was a really fun experience scrolling, and now it's a very commercial heavy experience scrolling, where you get people selling you screwdrivers every other post or an advert, and it's too much, and it's lost its appeal. But Facebook might be thinking, okay, so they've made a mistake there, they've gone too far down there, let's bring us back to being genuinely seeing what your friends and family are up to every time you go on.
Maybe. And that's interesting to know, because I thought it was just my feed. I was like, oh, I bought that bathing suit off of TikTok, and now I'm getting all of the shops. But same thing. I think every other video I see is selling me something on TikTok. And it's actually getting annoying, to the point where I think I scroll, not that I spend my life scrolling, but just a little. I think I'm on Reels more often than TikTok now, because it has gotten really sales heavy. But I thought it was me. It was one too many TikTok purchase.
Yes. Reels is a lot of secondhand TikTok content, but at least it's not with the adverts, so it is better. So that might be, Facebook trying to find relevancy. And like I say, as you mentioned, for us, it's not massively an issue. It's been pay to play for a long time.
Yeah.
Facebook, isn't it? If you're serious about reach, you need to pay for that and boost posts, and there'll be a way around it. I haven't got a blue tick or whatever it's called, verify on Facebook. And I never even thought about it or noticed it. I have on X, only because I was experimenting with ads a couple of years ago, and you had to buy a blue tick to be able to run ads. And I don't think you can give up your blue tick once you've got it. I better use it, but yeah, I don't know anyone who's verified on Facebook. I didn't even know it was a thing, to be honest.
I know one person who tested it to see if it would make any difference, and it kind of hasn't. But yeah, you could purchase one. I just don't know how much it is on Facebook and Instagram, Meta, so to speak.
Meta. Okay. Meta. So tomorrow we are both going to the airport.
I'm so excited.
Airports.
Yeah.
You're going to Newark, which is a town in Lincolnshire about 50 miles from me. No, not that one. The other Newark. It's funny because Newark and York.
All of our towns are like your towns.
Yeah, it's weird.
So ironic.
It's weird. It's like that time we were on the tube and you said, isn't it odd there's so much red, white and blue in England, even though they're the colours of the American flag?
To everybody. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe you just did that. It was one of those moments that I had,
Yeah. That joke would have worked in France as well. Why is so much red, white and blue? Why do they really like America here?
I wish it was a joke. I was serious, but as the words came out of my mouth, I was like, Cissy, here we go. My family has a name for them. They're Sissyisms, and it's not usually a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we call them something else.
Oh.
So Newark is a place, yeah, it's about 40 miles north of me, and a bit further up the road is York. You have Newark and New York next to each other, and you're going to Newark Airport. I'm going to Heathrow Airport. We are flying to Georgia. Georgia on my mind. Never went to Georgia. Lots of songs about Georgia,
Yeah.
and hopefully the weather will be a bit better than it has been here. And I've got some running to do, and we are going to an in-person author event that honestly neither of us know very much about. We've been invited to it. We both thought, yeah, let's do that. But why do you go to in-person author events? Why do you organize them? Why would you advise an author to go to any?
Honestly, I think about my career, and I could say this seriously. Every time I've made a move, every time I've leveled up, it's almost always because of a connection I made. I mean, obviously, some of it has to do with the writing in the books and things like that too. But the things that I've learned, sure, you can learn a lot. I learned a lot from this, course that I found online when my career first started. But so many things are because of relationships. And I don't think that's unique to our industry. That's because of relationships, relationship building. I've told both of my kids, when you go to college, there's a lot of courses you're going to take. There's a lot of things you'll learn, but the most important thing you'll do there is build relationships. And I feel like in our industry, it's as important as any others. Think about the relationships you have that you've built in person and the trust you've built with those relationships. For me, almost all of them have been in person. And I understand I'm an extrovert, which is, not necessarily typical in this industry. And so they're not absolutely necessary. People have built massive careers, but they also say lean into what you like and what you're good at. For me, that's talking to people, being with people, and building relationships with people. So for me, there's no other, you can Zoom, and we did during COVID, we know that, but it's not the same to sit down on a computer and have a glass of wine with your girlfriends as it is to, be around a table and do it in person. So for me, it's just the relationships building, I think.
Yeah, and I'll add to that and say I think there's a time thing. So when we learn, we don't learn instantly anything. You get told something and it percolates for a bit, and then you ruminate on it and all those other adjectives, and you discuss it with people, then you try it a bit, and eventually you learn something. It's important, that's simply how learning works. And you will know that as a teacher. You can tell a child something, but until they've perhaps done it themselves or worked out, they learned it themselves, that's when they learn. That's how we learn. And I think when you're on a Zoom or you're reading an article on Facebook or whatever, you're isolated. You've been told this thing. There might be some discussion. Usually there isn't any discussion. It's just a one-way thing, them to you. If you're on a Zoom, there's a bit of discussion. Maybe underneath the news article, there's comments, but they can be of variable quality. But that all happens in a finite period of time. In the 10 minutes it's taken you to consume that and read it, and 10 minutes is probably a long time, an exaggeration. When you go to an in-person event, you talk about something in the morning, you don't talk about it for a bit, then you mention it at lunch to somebody, and then you've been thinking about it in the evening, you find somebody else who did that already, and this is what they've learned about it. By 48 hours later, that topic that you were introduced to the next morning, you've had a very, very rounded introduction to, and you've known which questions to ask that you wouldn't have known what questions to ask when you were first told it. But 48 hours later, you've sought out Cissy Mecca. She's been doing this for a year. Go and talk to her about this. And that, for me, that's when your notes that you come away from are irreplaceable and not replaceable by a Zoom call or sending out an email.
Yeah. I mean, you actually hit the nail on the head in terms of learning. That's how we learn. And it's one thing to read it, it's one thing to see it, but it's another to kind of like a reader. We go back to the AI discussion. So a machine can write a book, and to some readers, it won't matter if there was a person behind that story because they just, want to consume the story and be entertained. But there's another reader who they want to know that the difficulties, the hurdles that the characters are overcoming in that story, they're there because the author learned how to overcome them. And I'm learning how to overcome them myself. And it's kind of the same thing when I'm in person and I hear James talk about his struggles with, XYZ. I'm internalizing that just as a reader is internalizing a character struggle. And I'm recognizing that, okay, I learned about this thing. James put it into practice. He had these struggles. Now I can do this maybe without having that same issue. I think about the very first time I mentioned about Emma and meeting her. I could have gone 3 years trying to pitch and find an agent and gone down the trad route. One conversation with one woman who said, I did that, and instead of continuing down that route, I published myself, I made X amount of dollars, and now I'm full-time Scottish historical romance author. Her struggles now are ones that I didn't have to overcome. And it's just, again, relationship building. I mean, listen, you and I, for instance, you came to my house. That's where we, I started to kind of bond. And this is a friendship and a professional relationship I value, above all others in indie publishing. And I think it's because we got to know each other. You were at my house and we talked in person, and I just don't think that can be replicated.
Yeah. And our closest group of friends, who we call ourselves the Tiki Bar Pals, we met in person. And I think it would be impossible to imagine a close group of friends who, I suppose it's not impossible to imagine. It's possible to meet online, but they're usually stories, aren't they? Oh, we actually met online, but it's in-person bits that make the difference. And those friendships are very important. You can't really understate how important they are to your career, as well as what life is about, basically, why we're doing this, if it's not for the human side of things. And I'll be honest about that as well. I enjoy the traveling. I enjoy going to the conference. And for me, that is an end in itself.
Yes.
It doesn't have to necessarily provide value to my career. This in the next few days may or may not in Savannah, but I will enjoy it. And that's why I write. And that's why I run my author businesses, to be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I talked about kind of crafting the life that I want to live. I love to travel. I love to see new places. Savannah I've been to, but only once. So maybe we'll get to see something I haven't before. So that is the life that I love. My family teases me about going to all of these places. And I'm like, well, but that's the point, right? This is the life that I love. And I'm a very personally, people person. So this is an isolating career. I think it was the one thing I wasn't prepared for. I loved teaching, but I love this job even more in that I'm my own boss. I'm getting to tell stories. But one thing I definitely didn't love, and I've worked it out by having these events and having a group of people I can meet up with, but about 2 years into it, I was like, man, I miss happy hours. I miss, the social aspect of my job and the water cooler and the teacher lounge. I miss it a lot. And so, I think this is important for me personally, to connect with others just on a person level. Is that a word? Is that a phrase, person level?
Yeah, I think person level works. We can, well, we're writers, aren't we? We'll get someone to write it. We'll fix it in the edit. Yeah,
Great.
I love that. And I think that NINC is one of our favorite conferences because it's by the beach and it's relaxing. It's the most conducive to relationship formings, I think. We're trying to make London better for that, and I think we will this year in a different environment with food and drink and more social time than we've had before, because I think it's such an important part of a conference. Ireland's a bit like that. Ireland is a couple of weeks after we get back from Savannah. Ireland has a quite collegiate campus feel because it's in the middle of nowhere and there's nowhere else to go, this hotel. So if you've been in a session with somebody, they're going to be in the same bar afterwards. It's the one thing Author Nation has struggled with, I think, certainly since it moved to the
Samstown.
Strip.
Yeah.
Samstown was a place where you did all meet in the same place afterwards, and they've tried. I know Susie and Joe think a lot about this, and they try hard to create these kind of happy hour moments, but it's been a bit difficult. But it's an amazing learning place for me, Author Nation. So you get different things from different conferences, I guess.
There is something about kicking one back with your fellow authors. I think the Tiki Bar is a good part of why NINC, so many people form relationships. So I'm not trying to advocate drinking alcohol on this show, but just saying.
I might have a glass of champagne on the flight tomorrow. We'll see if they offer it to me in premium economy.
It's lounges, right?
Yeah. Okay, listen, talking of Author Nation, I just realized in 12 minutes I've got presentation. Not a presentation, but they're going to show my presentation, and I'm going to be there to answer questions about it. So
Very nice.
I better wrap this one up and jump onto that one. And when can I do my work? Cissy,
I
when's
don't
that
know.
happening?
Are you writing today? Did you write today? Do we need to crack?
I did not write today. I tried to. I sat down in the living room and then I opened my Scrivener. It said it couldn't open it because it was open on this device in here, which I couldn't get to because I was in my pajamas. And I know it's not open on this device. I'm slightly worried about that, but I haven't got to that yet. But
That sounds
I will do some writing today. But I'm currently doing my presentation. I'm doing some stuff for Vinci translations today, and my presentation for Ireland. Which will be on AI translations.
Yeah, I've heard that's a great conference. I'd love to get to it someday, and I've never been to Ireland.
I have to go to Ireland somewhere beautiful, and it's on the west coast as well. You know, most people just go to Dublin, but you got to get out and see the real rugged beauty of that place. Good. Well, listen, I'll see you on Friday.
I am so excited. I can't wait to see you in person, and we will do all the authory things, and it'll be lots of fun. Yeah, we'll see you in Savannah. Don't forget your cowboy boots. There's a bar with the mechanical bull and line dancing, so I'm just warning you.
Is it okay if I wear my trainers?
Sure. What are they? Oh, sneakers? Yeah.
Sneakers.
You can wear your sneakers.
Yeah. All right. See you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This is the Self-Publishing Show. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
The Self-Publishing Show is sponsored by Pro Writing Aid. Built by writers for writers. Pro Writing Aid doesn't just check spelling and grammar, it helps you enhance your story's pacing, plot, characters, settings, and more. Now it can provide even on-demand developmental feedback for your entire manuscript with its manuscript analysis and virtual beta reader tools. Give your writing a competitive advantage by heading to prowritingaid.com. Sign up for free and use the code IWC15 for a 15% discount off annual subscriptions.